What's up guys, Alfie, today I'm going to be doing a full in-depth deck breakdown of a deck that I've recently used to hit rank 1 with on the Arena ladder. As you can see from the Arena Pro Tracker screenshot here, I'm currently 20-3 with this deck, so it's been performing really well for me. And now before I get into it, there's going to be an MTG zone link down in the description. If you click on that, we'll have the full deck list there that you can import into Arena if you want to try the deck out for yourself. And I'm not going to be doing a full article on this deck just because my main focus on articles right now is going to be stuff to do with the new set. But because of that, I'm going to be posting a brief sideboard guide in the description within the next few days, so check back in a few days' time and there should be a sideboard guide in the description as well. But anyway, with that all out of the way, this is my Jund's Crucias Putrid Goblin combo deck in Historic. And as the name suggests, this is a deck that is largely built around the Putrid Goblin combo. So the way that this works is we're trying to assemble Putrid Goblin alongside either Metallic Mimic or Grumgully. So Putrid Goblin has Persist, which means when it dies, if it had no -1/-1 counters on it, you return it to the battlefield with a -1/-1 counter on it. Then if we have that alongside Metallic Mimic, we're always going to name Goblin on it, and it says each other creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. So if we have Metallic Mimic naming Goblin alongside Putrid Goblin, whenever the Putrid Goblin dies, rather than entering as a 1/1, it will keep entering as a 2/2 because the -1/-1 counter will essentially be nullified by the +1/+1 counter from the Metallic Mimic. Similarly, Grumgully says each other non-human creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. So same thing, if you have Putrid Goblin in play alongside Grumgully, whenever the Putrid Goblin dies, it will just keep re-entering as a 2/2, so it will just keep coming back from the graveyard over and over again. Then if we pair that with Skirk Prospector, we essentially have infinite mana because we can keep sacrificing the Putrid Goblin to the Prospector over and over again to produce infinite red mana. And then the ways that we win from there is either with Pashlik Mons, Goblin Matron, or Horde Master. So Pashlik Mons is our main win condition for the combo. Once we have infinite mana, we can just cast the Pashlik Mons, and then we can keep sacrificing the Putrid Goblin to the Prospector over and over again, which will deal infinite damage from the Pashlik Mons ability and win us the game on the spot. The other way that we can do it is with Goblin Matron. We just cast the Matron, search the Pashlik Mons, cast the Pashlik Mons, and then again keep sacking the Putrid Goblin to do infinite damage. And then we can also win from that situation with Horde Master as well, because if we have Horde Master in play, it says whenever another goblin dies, exile the top card of your library. If it's a goblin creature card, you may cast that card. So if we have Horde Master in play, we keep sacrificing the Putrid Goblin. Horde Master will keep exiling cards on top of our library, and then once we hit a Pashlik Mons, we can just cast the Pashlik Mons and deal infinite damage. And if we hit a Matron, we can just cast the Matron, searching the Pashlik Mons, and then keep sacking the Putrid Goblin to do infinite damage. So really powerful combo that can just win on the spot straight away. Even if we don't have one of our payoff cards, infinite mana does allow us to just play out whatever we've got in our hand. Now obviously some cards in the deck aren't red, we've got Collected Company, Grumgully and stuff, so if we have green mana from our lands or, treasures lying around from Crucias, we can pump all that mana into something like a Collected Company to try and find the last piece. Or even if we don't have anything else going on, we have Gigantha as the companion anyway, so oftentimes you can set up infinite mana on turn 3, and then we can just instantly use that mana to put Gigantha into our hand and cast it. So even if you don't have one of your payoff cards, you can still often just pump that mana into whatever threats you have and just build up a really big board that often puts you ahead anyway. So that's the combo. It's really powerful, but the really nice thing about this particular deck is all of the combo pieces and all of the cards in the deck anyway synergize really nicely together to give you a really strong fair game plan as well. So you can often just win by attacking even if you can't assemble the combo. So for example, Skirk Prospector, obviously good at producing infinite mana with the Putrid Goblin, but it also works really nicely enabling you to ramp into Collected Company. It enables us to ramp into Crucias on turn 2, which is really strong. Now oftentimes that isn't going to be the right move if you need Prospector as part of the combo, but getting Crucias down on turn 2 often just puts you so far ahead that you just run away with the game anyway. It also pairs really nicely with the Runveld Horde Master because we can sacrifice goblins to look for more goblins off the top of our library. And oftentimes, the difficult thing about this deck is you have to be constantly thinking about ways you can assemble the combo. Oftentimes, if you're in a spot where you're behind and you need to combo off straight away, you need to think, okay, what could I hit off the Horde Master to be able to combo off here? And Prospector producing mana enables you to have these turns where you can sacrifice your board to the Horde Master, try and dig for whatever combo piece you're missing, and then just go off from there. Skirk Prospector also works really nicely with the Pashlik Mons because we can sacrifice our goblins to just ping the opponent directly, or we can use it as removal against the opponent's creatures. So even if we're not comboing off, Prospector plus Pashlik Mons is really nice, and the red mana that we produce can also be used for Pashlik Mons' activated ability to produce even more goblins that we can sacrifice to the Prospector. So Prospector really strong outside of the combo as well. Similarly, Putrid Goblin, even though it's a key combo piece, if we don't have the combo, we can just, use it to block, and then it will come back as another blocker, so it's decent stumbling block against the aggro decks as well. Also works really nicely with the Prospector because it essentially pays for itself. You can sacrifice it to produce a red, comes back with Persist, then you sacrifice it again, which again is very nice with the Horde Master if we're trying to dig for stuff off the top. Speaking of Hordemaster, like I said, we do have a very strong fair game plan, so even though Hordemaster is a nice way to find Pashlink ones if we're comboing off, it's also just a way for us to boost our whole board and start attacking. Similarly, the exile effect off the top of our library gives us really good insulation against removal, particularly supers like Brotherhood's End. This is very good at just allowing us to refuel, so Hordemaster really enables our strong backup plan of just attacking the opponent if we can't combo off. Then Metallic Mimic as well, even though it is as a way to go off with Putrid Goblin, it does just make all of our other goblins enter the battlefield with +1/+1 counters on it, so similar to Hordemaster, just enables us to build up a really big board if we're just trying to attack fairly as well. Same thing with Grumgully, similar thing, just makes our goblins enter with a +1/+1 counter on it. Then Matron obviously is very good at searching out our combo pieces, but if we do need to attack, we can just search up the Hordemaster, or if we need protection from interaction, it can help us find that as well. We're also running a one-of Masked Vandal, which is a way for us to kill artifacts and enchantments. So this is just generically good game one because it enables us to kill commonly played artifacts and enchantments like Fable of the Mirror Breaker, Portable Hole, Nettlecyst, stuff like that as well. But I also think it's very important just as a tutor target because against Mono Green Devotion, they can just ramp into Karn and get Graveyard Hate game one. So having a main deckable way to search for this is great as well. Now the important thing to note with Masked Vandal, unlike Metallic Mimic, this is a changeling, so it counts as a goblin even when it's in the deck, so we can search this up off the Matron, which is very important. Like I said, against Mono Green Devotion as a main deck out to Graveyard Hate, which is very important. And then Pashlink Mons, obviously is our main way to win once we have the combo set up, but also is just a generically good card in its own right as well. Like I said, very good with Prospector and allowing us to sacrifice goblins and ping down the opponent's stuff. Very good against creature decks that have low toughness like humans as well. And then its activated ability is a good mana sink as well, especially if we have Metallic Mimic or Grumgully in play, because we can sacrifice goblins to make them enter as 2/2s or 3/3s if we have multiples of this as well. So all of the goblins in the deck work really nicely for the combo and also for the fair backup plan as well. And we've also got 4 copies of Munitions Expert, which is a really nice, piece of interaction that is a goblin itself. So, fuels all of our goblin synergies. We also have Collected Company in the deck, and finding Munitions Expert off that is really, really sick as well. It's just a way to kill the opponent's stuff. So Munitions Expert synergizes really, really nicely with the deck. And then the real spice that I've got going on here, and I think what makes the deck so consistent, is Crucias and Collected Company. So Crucias, I've been putting this in basically every deck recently, but I think this is a really, really solid home for Crucias. First of all, because it's just generically powerful, fixes our hand, allows us to just keep digging for combo pieces, which is particularly useful in this deck. We want to assemble the combo, so using Crucias to be able to dig for stuff is really nice. We can also ramp into this on turn 2, and turn 2 Crucias, if the opponent doesn't have mana up for removal, is so powerful and often just ends up putting us so far ahead. Such a big tempo advantage by getting Crucias into play early. But the really, really powerful thing about Crucias in this deck is its interaction with Collected Company, because if we have Crucias and we discard a 3-drop and choose Ambitious, we're guaranteed to find Collected Company, which is really sick because Company is obviously great at finding our combo pieces, but it's also just really good at enabling us to commit to the board. Companying into a Goblin Matron to search stuff up is really powerful. Companying into Munitions Expert to kill stuff is really powerful. Hitting Hordemaster to boost our whole board is really sick. And Crucias enables us to just chain together companies. If you have a bunch of 3-drops in hand, I've had situations where I get to chain 3 or 4 Collected Companies in a row, and that's just, even if you can't assemble the combo, you're just going to flood the board so quickly that you just end up winning the game anyway. And additionally, Collected Company also enables us to find Crucias as well, which is really powerful. So Collected Company, while we're talking about it, obviously great at finding all of our combo pieces, very generically powerful. We can ramp into it off Prospector on turn 3, and normally you want to cast, or in a lot of decks, you want to cast Collected Company during the opponent's turn, but you do need to be mindful of what you could potentially hit off this, because especially because we've got Crucias in the deck, it's often correct to fire off Collected Company during your turn so that you immediately get the Crucias trigger. Additionally, you need to be thinking about what you could potentially hit, because say, for example, you have a Prospector on board and a Matron in hand, it's often correct to just fire off Company during your turn, because if you hit Putrid Goblin and Metallic Mimic, or Putrid Goblin and Grumgully, you can just combo off immediately straight there by, producing infinite mana and then casting the Matron. So always be mindful of what you can potentially hit off the Company when you're trying to figure out when to play it. And then Grumgully, the reason that we're running this as a one-of, it might not be immediately obvious, is because Metallic Mimic, while it's a shapeshifter, isn't a changeling. So this only counts as a goblin once it's on the battlefield. So unfortunately, we can't tutor up the Metallic Mimic off Goblin Matron. So the one of Grumgully basically just gives us a way to combo off with the Putrid Goblin when we don't have Metallic Mimic, that we can also search off the Goblin Matron. So say we have Prospector plus Putrid Goblin, we can just use Matron to then search up the Grumgully, because that is obviously a Goblin, and then that enables us to combo off there, which is really powerful. Then in terms of the mana base, 24 lands has felt like a good amount. I could potentially see an argument to going up to 25, because missing your third land is really, really bad in this deck, but we do have Prospector as a way to ramp into like a Crucias, for example, so I feel like 24 has felt like a decent amount overall, because we have Prospector as a way to kind of cheat on mana a little bit, and we are going to hit our third land on curve most of the time. Now, unfortunately, because there is quite a lot of stress on the mana base, we don't have any room for utility lands. I still think it's very important to be running a 1-of basic as a concession to Field of Ruin and Assassin's Trophy, but the main reason why I'm running all of these lands is because we need green and black on turn 2 for Munitions Expert and Masked Vandal. We obviously need green and black on turn 3 for Crucias and Grumgully, and obviously green on turn 4 for Collected Company is very important as well. Sometimes they even want this on turn 3 if we want to ramp into it off the Prospector. The reason I'm not running stuff like Unclaimed Territory or Secluded Courtyard is because we have Fatal Push in the sideboard, so we need actual black mana in the early game to be able to consistently cast Fatal Push, and we also need actual green mana to be able to cast Collected Company as well. So unfortunately can't run Unclaimed Territory or Secluded Courtyard. Unfortunately can't run any of the utility lands either, but because we have so many ways to do stuff, Crucias is always going to find us gas to play. We need to assemble multiple creatures. We have Matron as a mana sink, we have Collected Company as a mana sink, we have Pashlik Mons as a mana sink, so even though we're not running utility lands, you're never really going to run out of stuff to do with your mana. And now before I move on to the sideboard, I want to quickly address why I'm not running Muxus or Cabaretti Revels, because one of the main reasons I started testing Crucias in Goblins in the first place is because you can potentially use Crucias to tutor and ramp into Muxus as well, which is very, very powerful. But the issue with building Crucias tutoring Muxus is, since your whole game plan revolves around finding and casting the Muxus, you really want your Muxus to be able to win the game on the spot in the vast majority of cases, and the main ways that you have of doing that is either with Krenko or Slingang Lieutenant, which are both 4 mana cards. And the issue with running Crucias tutoring Muxus with 4 mana cards is you can't overload your deck with 4 mana cards, and the only way you can consistently tutor Muxus if you're running Krenko or Slingang Lieutenant is by discarding one of your 4-drops. Ideally, what you want to try and set up is a deck with no 4-drops in, so that you can discard a 3-drop and consistently tutor the Muxus, but then your Muxus isn't consistently winning. The only way I could think of having a deck where you're not running any 4-drops and the Muxus can consistently kill is with the Putrid Goblin combo, as you can see here. But the big issue with that is that Metallic Mimic isn't a changeling, so it can't be hit off Muxus, which means in that situation, you would have to be running 4 Crucias, 4 Metallic Mimic, 4 Muxus, which would mean you'd have not that many actual goblins in the deck that Muxus could hit. So your goblin count is generally too low for Muxus to be good. So the way that you would have to run the deck is without Metallic Mimic and with like 3 or 4 Grumgully, which is significantly worse because the difference between 2 and 3 mana is huge. It would basically be the only green card in your deck as well. So I'm not a big fan of Muxus in the show. I think Collected Company is significantly better because it's so much easier to cast. You don't have to wait until turn 5 to be able to cast it, whereas Company is so much easier to cast, very easy to chain together, and it's not clunky. The big issue with running a Muxus deck is having it in your opening hand can be very clunky, especially because Historic is very fast right now, whereas Collected Company is so much cheaper and easier to cast. You're always happy to have it in your opening hand, so I much prefer Company over Muxus in this particular build. And then Cabaretti Revels, I did actually test for quite a while. I was testing a Revels build before this, and Revels is good, but it's just slower than Collected Company. Having to take your turn 3 off to cast Revels is very good against specifically against Rakdos mid-range. It's very, very strong because they basically don't have a way to deal with it. But Company is just much stronger, and it's much faster to commit to the board. Sorry, the big weakness of Cabaretti Revels is you have to take a turn off to cast it, so you're behind on tempo. And Goblins already has an issue against aggro decks, so Company is much, much better against aggro than Revels is. And the other really nice thing about Company in this deck is its interaction with Crucias. In the Revels build I was running Slingang Lieutenant as a payoff, discarding a 3-drop to find a Slingang Lieutenant, and Collected Company is a much better payoff. So that's the main reason why I really like this build and why I'm not running Muxus or Revels. Now onto the sideboard. So obviously we've got Gigantha as the companion. Generally not too much synergy with Gigantha, but like I said, it's a really nice payoff for getting infinite mana when we don't have Matron, Pashlik Mons or Runveld Hordemaster. In terms of the other sideboard guides, we've got 1 Tormod's Crypt, 2 use Soul Guide Lantern as graveyard hate. Again, the reason that I've gone for these particular cards is because I really like Tormod's Crypt when you're running a low to the ground deck where you want to be curving out, because you don't have to take a spot off the curve to cast it. You can still curve, Prospector into Putrid Goblin into Matron or whatever, and you can still have graveyard hate in play. The issue with a card like Unlicensed Hearse is you often have to take a spot off on your curve to be able to cast it. The reason I'm not running more than one Tormod's Crypt is because it's pretty bad in multiples, which is the main reason I'm running Soul Guide Lantern as the additional 2 copies of graveyard hate here, because Soul Guide Lantern, if you draw another piece of graveyard hate, you can always just cycle away the second or third one that you draw, which is really nice. Main matchups that we want this for is stuff like, is it Phoenix, Kethis combo, any graveyard synergy deck, any Mythic's Mastery sort of decks can be difficult to race as well. So mainly just here for those sorts of matchups. And I do think it's quite important right now because you do tend to struggle against, Reanimator, Phoenix, if you don't have a way to shut off their graveyard. And then we've got the second copy of Masked Vandal and 2 copies of Goblin Trashmaster, mainly for the artifact decks like Thopters and Affinity. Trashmaster is obviously very, very powerful. It's basically a blowout against Affinity or Thopters if you can resolve it. And, obviously we can sacrifice a bunch of our goblins to kill their artifacts, but it's another payoff for us setting up Putrid Goblin, Metallic Mimic, and Grumgully, because say we have Putrid Goblin and Metallic Mimic, we have infinite sacrifice fodder for the Trashmaster as well, so we can just use the Trashmaster to kill every single artifact the opponent has in play, which is basically just going to win you the game immediately. The reason I've gone for a split here is because we do already have 4 Collected Company as a 4-mana card, and so bringing in 2 Trashmaster as well does increase the curve a little bit and make it a bit more clunky. And additionally, we can tutor up the Trashmaster off the Matron, but I felt like it was such a powerful card that increasing your chances of drawing it naturally is quite important. And the nice thing about Masked Vandal over the 3rd copy of Trashmaster is that it can be hit off Collected Company, which is definitely relevant in a lot of situations as well. And additionally, Masked Vandal can be used to take out enchantments, which is definitely relevant against certain decks as well. And then we've got 4 copies of Fatal Push, so like I said, Goblins generally does have its weakest matchup against the aggro decks, and Fatal Push really goes a long way to fix that. Now, I do think that this particular build is better against aggro than most of the other Goblins decks because we have a much lower curve of creatures, and we have Collected Company as well, which allows us to commit to the board a lot faster. But Fatal Push is a very important tool against decks like Auras and Is It Wizards, and it's also crucial against Hushbringer as well, because both Auras and Thopters can bring in Hushbringer against you, which completely shuts off your combo and a lot of your synergies as well. It shuts off the Death Trigger of Hordemaster, it shuts off ETB of Goblin Matron, and also Munitions Expert, which is very relevant. So having Fatal Push as a way to kill Hushbringer and just, against aggro in general to slow them down is very nice. And then we've also got 4 copies of Battlecry Goblin, so this is mainly here for the control and just slower matchups in general. Munitions Expert is typically not very good against control, because it can be used to kill planeswalkers, but you want to be racing them. In having a Munitions Expert sat in your hand when the opponent doesn't have anything on board just slows down your ability to race. And Battlecry Goblin is so fast. If you can get it on board, boost your whole board. Being able to repeatedly pump your mana into this produces so much power out of nowhere, so it really enables you to race against the control decks and also decks like Goblin Charbelcher, where you're just trying to race as fast as possible. Now, there are obviously a decent number of good goblins against control. You've got stuff like Squee, you've got stuff like Goblin Ringleader, but I think that, if you swap out Munitions Expert for Squee, for example, you're making your deck very high on 3-drops. You're increasing the mana curve of the deck, which means it makes you more vulnerable to stuff like Archmage's Charm as well. So I really like Battlecry Goblin just because it's very cheap, and we can swarm the battlefield pretty quickly off Collected Company. So Battlecry Goblin just enables you to really race against decks like Control and Charbelcher and just slower controlling combo decks in general. So that's the deck. I've been really, really impressed with it overall. I love this combo, and I've been trying to figure out a good build for it, and I think this build really synergizes so well between Crucias, Collected Company allowing you to flood the board, allowing using Crucias to tutor multiple Collected Companies, using Collected Company to find your Crucias, help you find the combo pieces, and you have a strong backup plan as well, alongside all the good sideboard cards you have. I feel like every matchup you have a really solid game plan for overall. So anyway, that's the deck. Next up, I've got some gameplay. I've got 5 matches that I was playing with this deck on the ladder. I had a couple people mention that they never see me on the climb to Mythic, so I've included a few games in Diamond on the climb to Mythic and some games in Mythic itself. So if you've got any questions or comments about the deck at all, definitely let me know in the comments, and I hope you enjoy the gameplay. Big up. Okay, sweet. Here we go. Okay, so we're on the play here. And yeah, I think this hand's good. As long as we can hit our 3rd land drop, especially on the play, this hand's pretty sick. So we can go Metallic Mimic on turn 2 into Crucius, potentially pitching Matron to get a Collected Company, which is really strong, because even if we miss our 4th land, the fact Crucius creates a treasure token is really nice. Okay, Prospect is an interesting draw. So now now we have all but one of the combo pieces, right? Because we can play Mimic, Naming Goblin, and then if we can use Matron to find Putrid Goblin, we have the Prospector here already and the Hordemaster. Oh, wow. Okay, sick. Now we do the Putrid Goblin. So had we drawn our third land, we could have potentially just won here on the spot on turn 3. Going to play the Putrid Goblin here just so, you know, we could have played the Prospector instead, but I think it's better to be more mana efficient here. And if the opponent doesn't have any interaction here, we should just win next turn. So yeah, had we hit our third land drop, we could have just won on turn 3 here by playing the Prospector and just start sacking for infinite mana, then just play the Matron, search for the Passionate Mons. Instead of playing Matron, we could also play the Hordemaster. Oh wow, if the opponent plays a Triumph, okay, sick, we just win here. So against a Giganta deck with a bunch of Triumphs, I assume we're against Niv. But yeah, we just win here now. I might as well attack in first just to save me doing more loops. And then I always use the spacebar when I'm confirming the sack or Skype Prospector to save me time having to move my cursor down to the bottom right. But yeah, now we just sacrifice the Putrid Goblin 3 times, play the Matron, search Passionate Mons, and then just keep sacking the Putrid Goblin. If we didn't have the Matron, we could just play the Hordemaster instead, and then every time we sacrifice the Putrid Goblin, we exile a card from the top of our library, and then we'll eventually hit a Matron or a Passionate Mons anyway, so going to sacrifice the Putrid Goblin. Now, generally, one thing you do need to be very wary of when you're playing this deck is it's best to sacrifice stuff. Okay, opponent just scoops it up. We would have just kept sacking the Putrid Goblin and dealing damage to the opponent directly with the Passionate Mons there. So sideboarding against Niv. Munitions Expert, I think I'm going to keep one in here. So typically against Control, I like to cut all 4 Munitions Expert and bring in the 4 Battlecry Goblin. I like to keep in the Masked Vandal as an out to Graveyard Hate. So I definitely want to keep the 1 Masked Vandal in as a way to kill something like Grafdigger's Cage. And like I said, normally against Control, I like to cut all 4 Munitions Expert. But since we're specifically against Niv, where we might want to tutor up Munitions Expert to kill a Niv or a Territorial Carvu, I'm going to keep one in just as a Goblin Matron tutor target. But yeah, like I was saying, you do need to be very mindful of keeping black and green mana open in your lands. So oftentimes it's best to sacrifice stuff to the Prospector to make red mana so that you don't cut yourself off green or black to be able to play stuff like Putrid Goblin or Grumgully to enable you to combo off. So here, this hand, you know, Battlecry Goblin is really good in these sorts of matchups where you're just trying to apply pressure. We do have quite a land-heavy hand, so I am a little bit worried about them. You know, if they have answers to both the Crucias before we activate it, we could be a little stuck here on mana, but, you know, Crucias is so good at fixing our hand, and Battlecry Goblin is a really solid turn 2 play that I think I'm fine with this. So I'm going to lead on attacking with the Battlecry Goblin first, just to try and bait out removal. I'd love for them to use removal on the Battlecry Goblin so that we can guarantee a Crucias activation here. Okay, so this is a bit sketchy. I assume, you know, at 2 mana, Niv has a ton of interaction, so I doubt... Okay, yeah, Leyline Binding, I assume they take out the Crucias here. Thankfully, we have a backup, but again, Niv is a deck that's full of removal, and drawing more lands here isn't great. I mean, Battlecry Goblin is a decent mana sink, but we need to be drawing more goblins for it to be good. Oh, wow, another land. So this isn't going great, obviously. You know, we're flooding out quite a lot here, which is, you know, kind of sucks. Going to play an untapped land just in case they're running, you know, I very much doubt they're running Sense or Jari Disruption, but... Oh, wow, they brought in Mystical Dispute against me. I'm pretty surprised to see that. I mean, I guess against a combo deck they feel they might have to, but, you know, we're a creature-based combo, so creature removal is able to stop us. Okay, not the best Niv hit for... I guess they hit 3. Oh, okay, Collected Company is good. I'm going to fire this off now just in case they've got another Mystical Dispute or a Dovin's Veto. And we hit a Crucius, so that's another reason why you often want a Coco during your turn. Now, typically against control decks like Niv or like Blue-White Control, it is oftentimes better to wait till the opponent's turn to play around sweepers, but... A lot of the time, because you have Crucius in the deck, it's worth going Company during your own turn so that you get the Crucius trigger. Okay, so opponent attacks with Niv. We've got the Matron here, which is not bad, but the opponent, you know, we can obviously see they've got both Drown in the Lock and Helix here, which is a little bit rough. Okay, they're shocking the Sacred Foundry. Interesting. Okay, so we've got the Grumgully, so I think I'm going to lead on the Grumgully first, just to see if they counter that, because I would like them to use removal or counterspell on the Grumgully so that we can resolve the Matron. Okay, they let it resolve, so chance they counter the Matron here, which would kind of suck. Let's see what they do. Yeah, okay, they do counter the Matron, which is a little bit annoying. Thankfully, we still have another Crucius activation here, unless they use the Helix. I mean, they probably do. Yeah, okay, so they Helix the Crucius. which is a little bit rough. So us flooding out earlier, you know, I think this game would have looked a lot different if we'd had more pressure on the board early. The opponent doesn't have a sweeper by the looks of things, like a deafening clarion, so had we been able to apply more pressure early, it would have been better. Okay, they attack with both. So I think we have to block the Carvu here, or we're just dead on board to the Niv next turn. So I'm going to double block the Carvu with the Battlecry Goblin and the Grumgully. If they have any interaction here, I think we just get completely blown out, but our only chance of winning is letting them attack in. Letting them double blocking and hoping they don't have removal. I don't think we're beating single target removal here, to be honest. And to be honest, like, this is a pretty good sign, right? Because if they had single target removal, they probably would have used it there to blow us out in combat. And if they don't have single target removal, there's a chance that we can just one-shot the opponent with the Battlecry Goblin here. Okay, another land. I mean, we're flooding out so badly this game, but Battlecry Goblin, if they don't have single target removal, if they didn't draw it off the Triome, I think we've actually got a good chance of winning here, because we can buff our board with the Battlecry Goblin to get the token. Wow, Arena's giving away priority, so we're actually going to steal this game here. I mean, we drew pretty badly, and we still ended up winning just off the back of the Battlecry Goblin. Wow, okay. Did not expect to win this one, but sick, we got there. Okay, so we're on the draw here. At least I assume so. I wish Arena would show you your opening hand while the opponent's choosing whether to go first or second, because it doesn't really make a difference. And sometimes people are slow to enter the game if they got bad connection. You know, I used to play on a really old laptop and it took me ages to get in. Okay, sweet, here we go. So, okay, it's sick. This hand looks pretty decent. You know, we've got infinite mana on turn 3, so as long as we can draw one of our payoffs, I think we're good here. Okay, so we drew a Blossoming Marsh, and now we can play Prospector on 1, because we can go Prospector into Metallic Mimic, into Putrid Goblin, and Forest into Elvish Mystic makes me think either Devotion or Elves, neither of which are very interactive, so this is the sort of matchup where just getting a fast combo can just win you the game. Okay, second Forest, so yeah, assume we're against Devotion or Elves here. You know, there's a chance we're against Gruul maybe, you know, there's Ponza, there's Vehicles. Okay, so definitely against Devotion, which I think is a pretty good matchup because... Oh, sick. Okay, so this should just be a turn 3 win. Now we've got the Matron. So as long as the opponent doesn't go like Khan into Tormod's Crypt or something, we should be good. And even if they do, we've got the Masked Vandal. So actually, yeah, I think we should win even if they go Khan Tormod's Crypt, because we can go keep one of the green lands untapped, Putrid Goblin, sack the... Oh, no, wait, because we'd need to sack the Putrid Goblin to get the mana to play the Masked Vandal. So, I mean, either way, I think we should be good to win here. Because the opponent didn't play Khan. I don't think there's a way they can play Khan this turn. Okay, sick. So, now we just go Putrid Goblin, and then just sack it 3 times to get the red mana. So just sack it 3 times. It's always worth not using your land mana if you can avoid it. Then we can play the Matron, tutoring up the Pashlik Mons. And then just sack the Putrid Goblin 3 more times. Might as well keep the green mana open. I mean, the opponent doesn't have anything here, but if the opponent was holding up mana, it's very useful to hold open the green mana in case the opponent had a removal spell, and then we could play something extra like the Grumgully, for example. And now we just sacrifice the Putrid Goblin, deal 1 damage to the opponent, get the Putrid Goblin back. And again, always use the spacebar to confirm the Skirk Prospector just to save time, because you can time out if you're doing things too slowly. Okay, so against Devotion, we definitely want the Fatal Pushes, especially on the draw. And then probably want to cut the Munitions Experts here, because they're a little bit too slow. I mean, I don't mind keeping 1 in. And I think I'm going to run it back. Oh, no, wait. Oh, that was stupid. Okay, I made a mistake. I definitely should not have cut the Masked Vandal. I don't know. I meant to trim on a Pashlik Mon. So in Monogreen Devotion, You know, the second Pashlik Mons is mainly here. I mean, it's a generically fine card on its own, but against interactive decks, it's really important to have 2 Pashlik Mons because it's very easy for the first one to get killed, right? If you have to play it out in the early game or the opponent thought seizes it or something, you just can't win with the combo after that. So having a second one is very important, but in matchups like Mono Green where the opponent has virtually no interaction, you can trim a Pashlik Mons. So sideboarding-wise, I definitely should have kept in the Masked Vandal because that's really important to have in the deck as a tutorable way to kill Graveyard Hate, because they can fetch Tormod's Crypt or Grafdigger's Cage off Khan, and that can stop you from comboing off, obviously, because you need Putrid Goblin to come back from the graveyard. So I hope that doesn't come up this game. If the opponent goes Khan, fetch Tormod's Crypt, we no longer have an out because I sideboarded badly. So yeah, against Devotion, you basically just... Oh no. You're going to get instantly punished here. But yeah, basically, you want to make sure you keep in at least one Masked Vandal. I mean, maybe they don't get it. Oh, well, they get Haywire Might. I guess that doesn't even kill the Metallic Mimic, though. Okay, so opponent's punted by doing that, I think. But had we sideboarded correctly, it would have been fine anyway. I mean, I definitely want to kill the Khan here while we can. So I was tempted to go Goblin Matron to get a Putrid Goblin or a Prospector, but we really need to kill Khan straight away. So we just use the Horde Master to boost it up to 3 power and then kill the Khan. And maybe they got the Haywire Might as a way to defend Khan, because they probably didn't know that we had the Horde Master to be able to attack it down. So a few interesting options we got here. I think I'm just gonna go for the Metallic Mimic and the Munitions Expert to kill the Haywire Might and just pressure the Kiora here. Maybe that was wrong. Maybe we're supposed to go for the Company instead. But I feel like, you know, we don't want to let the opponent get too many activations off the Kiora here. I would happily trade the Horde Master for the Paradise Druid here because that will slow them down as well. You know, it shuts them off having Storm the Festival access. So yeah, maybe it was correct to... Company instead there. I'm not 100% sure. Now they do have Storm the Festival. That's kind of rough. Okay, the Heck Cavalier of Thorns. So if they hit another land, they can use... Oh, wow, they whiffed. Okay, that's pretty huge. So now they can't activate Nykthos this turn. I mean, they would have only had 5 mana, but still obviously good for us that they didn't hit it. So yeah, maybe last turn I probably should have gone for Company because we could have potentially hit the combo, but... Either way, I'm going to play the land and fire off the Company now. I'm going to do it main phase in case we hit Crucias or in case we hit the combo. Okay, interesting. So I think we can combo here, right? Because we can sacrifice the Munitions Expert, a Horde Master, and a Metallic Mimic to play the Matron. And then we've still got Metallic Mimic Horde Master. And then we can sacrifice... We can use the Matron to search for the Putrid Goblin. And then we can cast the Putrid Goblin off the black mana and the red mana that we get off sacrificing the Matron. And then we can win off the Horde Master triggers. I mean, we've got a second Matron here already, so that's going to be able to search the Pashlik Mons now. If we hadn't hit this Matron off the Horde Master... Oh, well, we hit the Putrid Goblin anyway. So, I mean, that just saves us a few clicks. If we hadn't hit the Putrid Goblin... I'm going to sacrifice the Horde Master here just so we don't deck out while we're comboing. So yeah, now we can just go the Matron and search Pashlik Mons. If we hadn't hit the Putrid Goblin and the Pashlik Mons, we could have just played the Matron from our hand to tutor up the Putrid Goblin, then sacrifice the Matron to the Prospector and cast the Putrid Goblin that we search off the Matron with that, and then use the Horde Master to find the Pashlik Mons. But yeah, we got there anyway, and it saved us a few clicks that way as well, so that's pretty nice. Okay, so we're going first here. And yeah, this hand looks nice. You know, Horde Master on 2 into potentially Crucias on turn 3 on the play is always going to be really strong. So we'll see what the opponent's up to here. Inspiring Vantage into Esper Sentinel. Okay, sick. We drew the third land, so we're guaranteed to have Crucias on 3 here. So Vantage into Esper Sentinel when they're not playing Lurrus makes me think it's probably not Thopters. They could maybe... okay, I was going to say they could maybe on the Mardu Humans. Yeah, so it looks like they're on Mardu Humans. Maybe the list that I posted quite recently Companies, I mean, Company's normally a good draw, but against Esper Sentinel Thalia, it's a little bit awkward. So what to discard to the Crucias here? I mean, discarding the Masked Vandal seems pretty appealing. We already have Company here, and Masked Vandal, while it can kill the Sentinel, it's not going to be great against anything else, and I don't really think it's worth taking a turn off just to kill the Sentinel here, to be honest, because Crucias, the treasures that we get off it, should provide us enough mana where we could just pay for the Sentinel tax. You know, assuming if they have a way to buff the Sentinel, maybe that was a little bit greedy. They do. They have the Kudro to buff the Sentinel, which is a little bit annoying here. So we could have maybe pitched the Matron instead to find another collected company and then use the Masked Vandal to take out the Sentinel. Because now, unfortunately, we can't really pay for the Sentinel tax on top of Thalia. I think I'm going to do that this turn, and I'm probably just going to go for Company, even though it gives the opponent a card here. I don't think Humans is particularly good, especially game 1 at stopping the combo, so... You know, it looks like they're playing my list that I posted recently. Lieutenants, I mean... I don't think it really matters in terms of paying the Sentinel tax, but we could potentially hit Munitions Expert here to take out the Kudro, whereas if we wait, we can't kill it. Okay, so we did hit the Munitions Expert, so I'm very glad we did it now before they buffed the Kudro. And then I think we'll probably go for the Horde Master here. We want to try and build up a big board so they can't start attacking, because I feel the longer the game goes on, the more chance we have of winning. You know, like I said, Humans, especially game 1, doesn't really have good ways to stop the combo. So as long as we can stonewall them from attacking, we should be good to buy ourselves time to try and find it. They do have the Juggernaut Peddler, so I assume they take the Collected Company here. But we'll see. I mean, there's a chance they take the Putrid Goblin if they're worried about the combo, but we don't have any of the other pieces at the moment, so yeah, okay. They take the Collected Company, which makes sense. See if they attack. Okay, they choose not to attack. Okay, we drew another Collected Company. That's pretty sick. So again, I think we're just going to Company again. I don't really mind, you know, I think... Although, to be honest, I don't know. Maybe I feel like I'm worried they're going to start attacking, so I'm going to commit a bit more to the board here and then use Crucias to pitch the Juggernaut, get another treasure here. I'm going to set a stop just in case we hit Munitions Expert. Okay, we don't. Now we have the Metallic Mimic, though, so as long as we hit a Skirk Prospector off the Collected Company, we should just be good to win the game next turn. And I wanted to commit a bit to the board there just because I was worried, you know, Humans can have explosive turns. I don't want them to be able to start attacking, and you know, a turn like this, had we not played anything, they could have started attacking. So I mean, either way, I think we're good as long as we can find Prospector or Matron off this Collected Company. Then I think we should be good to win here, hopefully. Actually, yeah, I think that yeah, either way, because if we hit Matron, we can tutor the Prospector. Oh, perfect, we hit both anyway, so now we can go Prospector and Matron, and we could use the Matron to immediately tutor up the Pashlik Mons, so we don't even have to wait on the Horde Master. Now, because we need to sacrifice the Putrid Goblin a bunch of times to deal the direct damage, I'm going to sacrifice the Horde Masters first, just so we don't deck out. Oh, wow, opponent didn't even need to see the Metallic Mimic, they just scooped it up. Interesting. Okay, so against Humans, I mean... So Fatal Push is normally good against aggro, but specifically against Humans, I don't even know if I'm going to make any cuts. I mean, maybe the Masked Vandal isn't great, but they could bring in Graveyard Hate against me, so I'm kind of tempted to just run it back here because, you know, unlike a deck like Auras or Wizards, or, you know, specifically Thopters and Auras where they have Hushbringer, which we need to be able to kill, and a deck like Wizards where they can realistically race you really quickly, I actually don't mind the matchup against Humans because we can commit to the board pretty quickly, and their only way of pressuring is via attacking. And I feel like, I feel like the main deck is already pretty well set up against Humans, you know, and I feel like Fatal Push as an answer compared to something like Munitions Expert is a lot more clunky, considering the opponent's running Esper Sentinel and Thalia as well. So I think we can keep this, you know. Potentially having Crucias on 3 is always going to be good. Munitions Expert should be good. You know, if they play Thalia, we have an immediate answer to it. So just going to play the Blood Crypt tapped here, and then we could either go for Munitions Expert if they play a Thalia or a Thalia's Lieutenant, or Putrid Goblin on turn 2, and then Crucias on 3. We already have the Company as well, so even though we don't have a fast combo here, you know, Crucias and Company just smooth out your draws so quickly. Okay, Thalia's Lieutenant, perfect. We can just immediately kill that with the Munitions Expert before it grows out of range, which is great. So kill the Lieutenant here, and then Probably just going to go for Crucias next turn. Crucias on turn 3 is so good, especially if it can find you a collected company. Okay, so opponent plays Sentinel, which is a bit annoying with the company that we've got in hand. Going to attack first just to get in for some damage. Now, to be honest, we're probably winning with the combo kill, but you never know. It's sometimes worth getting in for chip damage because sometimes you need to rely on the fair just attacking game plan. Since we've already got 2 Putrid Goblins, I'm going to pitch one. Okay, hitting another Crucias isn't bad. It's a backup in case they use Skyclave Apparition. Oh, they do. Okay, sound. And I was also going to say we can always just pitch it to find another collected company anyway, so... Okay, they attack with the Sentinel. So I think I'm just going to fire off another Crucias here. You know, we could have gone for company, but we'd have had to use up the treasure, and I feel like getting Crucias into play to start accruing more value is you know, Crucias is a card that you want to get into play as quickly as possible for the most part. So we'll pitch one. I think we have enough mana here via the treasures to just start pitching lands here. I want to keep both Putrid Goblins in case the opponent has a Juggernaut Peddler. I mean, I assume they take collected company with the first Peddler, but... You know, just in case, you know, after we've used the company, they might use another Peddler on a later turn. But yeah, we've got Mimic and Putrid Goblins, so if we can hit Prospector and either Matron, Horde Master, or Passionate Mons, then we should just be good to win here. And again, you know, like I said, humans has to start attacking really to get pressure. Maybe I shouldn't have played the land there. It does save us to, you know, crack a treasure, but now we're having to pitch either a Metallic Mimic or a... sorry, now we're going to potentially have to pitch a Putrid Goblin if our top deck for next turn is good. Okay, Masked Vandal actually, you know, being able to kill the Sentinel here. I still think it's worth bringing the Masked Vandal as a tutorable way to kill Graveyard Hate because they do have, you know, humans are often going to bring in, like, Grafdigger's, well, not Grafdigger's Cage, sorry, Tormod's Crypt or Soul Guide Lantern against us, so... And I don't think... Wait, could we have won this turn if I just punted slightly? So we could have played... Oh no, we need, sorry. For a second I thought we had like a Horde Master in place. So we have infinite mana here. All we need to do at this point is find a Matron, a Passionate Mons, or a Horde Master. So I think we'll just use the company here. Okay, thankfully the opponent didn't hit like a Skyclave or anything, but... If we can company into either a Matron, a Horde Master, or a Passionate Mons, then we should just be able to win because we have the other 3 combo pieces in hand. Okay, there's a Grom Gully, so going to lead on the company. I mean, we should probably technically cast the Prospector first in case we hit Munitions Expert, but... Okay, perfect. So now we hit the Prospector and the Horde Master, so now we can just cast the Metallic Mimic, then the Putrid Goblin... Then we just keep sacrificing the Putrid Goblin until we find a Matron or a Passionate Mons. Wait, it looks like the opponent has something here. Maybe they have a Fatal Push? They've got priority for something. I guess that could maybe be priority for the Ranger Captain. Either way, we play the Putrid Goblin here. If they don't have anything, we just... Oh, the opponent just scoops it up. Yeah, we would just keep sacrificing the Putrid Goblin, and then we would eventually hit either Matron or Passionate Mons off the Horde Master. But yeah, we got there. Nice. Okay, so we're on the play here. And yeah, this looks good. You know, we've got 2 pieces of the combo and Crucias, so definitely happy to keep this one, especially on the play. You know, as I've always said, Crucias on turn 3 on the play is just the nuts. If the opponent doesn't have a removal spell straight away. Glacial Fortress. So probably against control if I had to guess here. Just going to play the Putrid Goblin on turn 2 here, and then... Still probably just going to go for Crucias on turn 3, even if they leave mana open. Now, they could very well have Censor or Jari Disruption, but Crucias is such a powerful card that if they don't have exactly those cards or like a Fateful Absence, then we're going to get so much advantage off it. Immediately getting a collected company by pitching a Matron. Okay. They did have the sense that I still think it was right to play the Crucias there because it's way more risky waiting to play it after they have 3 mana available for like an Archmage's Charm or something like that. So we do actually have the combo win here. I mean, I'd be very surprised if the opponent doesn't have any interaction, but if they didn't, we can go Grum Gully into Prospector, make infinite mana, cast Matron, get Passionate Mons, but I assume... Yeah, okay, opponent... Interesting they're playing Absorb, so they must be playing a lot of counter spells, which is a little bit frustrating considering our hand is 2 3-mana cards, but is what it is. Okay, so opponent plays a tap land, so we don't have to worry about Wandering Emperor this turn, which is nice. So I'm going to go for Matron here. They have another counter spell. It's a little bit annoying. So we could sacrifice the Putrid Goblin or the Prospector to play the second Matron, but that just doesn't seem worth it, you know, because if Putrid Goblin has a -1/-1 counter on it, you can't bring it back later in the game. And Prospector's obviously a valuable part of the combo as well, so I don't really want to sacrifice either of them. Going to try and hit the Matron again here. Okay, they let it resolve. Interesting. So we've already used the Grumgully, so we can't get the combo again. But against control, you know, they could be running Divine Purge, which could be an issue. But if they're relying on Supreme Verdict as their main wrath of choice, Horde Master is a really good way to insulate against that, and obviously increases our clock as well. Okay, they got March. Interesting. So they go after the Prospector. I guess that makes sense. So we'll select the Prospector in response, just in case they had Sensor as well. You know, they could have had Sensor, so we definitely want to make mana beforehand. And they're running Kaleem as well, which is good to know. Okay, so we get the Horde Master in play. Just got to hope they're not running Divine Purge here. If they're running Supreme Verdict, then Horde Master's really good against them. Oh, okay. Company's a great draw. So I think I'm going to attack here, but not with the Horde Master, because if they have Wandering Emperor or Shark Typhoon, we don't want to lose the Horde Master to either of those, really. So I'm going to pass the turn here and just Company during the opponent's turn, I think. Much more mana efficient and much more pressure than Putrid Goblin. Okay, so opponent did have Shark Typhoon, so very glad I didn't attack with the Horde Master. Because otherwise, if they do have a Supreme Verdict, then we kind of get blown out by that if they just block with the Shark Token. Okay, so let's see if they have a counter spell. Oh, well, they don't. Interesting. I mean, I definitely think probably want to go for the Horde Master and the Munitions Expert here. Munitions Expert is going to be able to kill the Shark Typhoon unless they can somehow kill 3 of our creatures here. So that's really nice. And then I think at this point I'm happy to just attack with everything. Oh, no, wait. I should have played the Prospector first. Yeah, okay. That was my bad. Yeah, so I definitely should have played the Prospector first, because now they can exile the Horde Master, gain 2 life. Yeah, that was really bad on my part. That was a pretty big punt, because not only could we have stopped them gaining 3 life, but we would have also got 2 triggers off the Horde Masters to look for more goblins. So that, yeah, I'm really hoping that doesn't come back to bite me here. That was definitely bad on my part. I just played too quickly. Wow, okay, so Farewell is a little bit rough. Thankfully, we have Prospector in place, so we can at least get a few Horde Master triggers here to try and find more goblins. But we would have had 2 more Horde Master triggers had I remembered to play the Prospector pre-combat. So yeah, that was definitely my bad. Okay, sweet. At least we've got 2 good goblins now. So that's basically our next turn sorted. So we'll see if we hit anything else here. Okay, we don't. So we use the Prospector here, and then next turn we can just go Matron, Munitions Expert to make use of the goblins before we lose them. Okay, so sweet. We get to kill the Wandering Emperor here. So what are we going to tutor off the Matron? I mean, we have Metallic Mimic Putrid Goblins, so we could get Prospector for infinite mana, but I think I'm just going to go for the Horde Master here, because I think, you know, getting infinite mana is nice, but we don't really have anything to do with it right now. We'd have to rely on drawing a Matron or a Pashlik Mons or a Horde Master. And I feel like Horde Master is just going to enable us to close this game out a lot more quickly, which is nice. I mean, we have the combo here, right? Because the opponent gave us another Matron activation. So I'm going to lead on the Matron here just to see if they counter it. If they counter it, we'll obviously have to go for something else. But now we can get a Prospector. And then I think I'm going to go to combat first just to see if they activate the Kaleem. Because if they activate the Kaleem, then that shuts off them. That kind of clears the way for us. Okay, perfect. They do. So now the only card we really have to worry about is like March of Otherworldly Light if they have another white card in hand, which, you know, probably kind of unlikely. So now we can sacrifice the Munitions Expert to play... Oh, don't scroll over Auto Tapper, please. Okay, now we play the Metallic Mimic, naming Goblin, and now we can sacrifice the Matron and play the Putrid Goblin. The opponent has something. That's kind of scary. They're getting priority for something. But I feel like if they had interaction, they probably would have used it by now. So now we just keep sacrificing the Putrid Goblin. I'm going to sack it 3 times. I mean, They don't even have the mana to play Censor, so I probably don't need to have the extra mana here, but it is what it is. So, got the Horde Master into play, and now we basically just go through our whole deck with the Horde Master, trying to find either a Pashlik Mons or a Matron. Now, if you're in this situation, you do need to play fast, because if all of your Matrons and Pashlik Mons are in the bottom of your deck, you do have to do this loop quite a few times. And like I've said, I would strongly recommend using the space bar when you're sacking stuff with Prospector, just to save you time, because okay, opponent just cycles Sense. Okay, perfect. Now we know the coast is clear for sure, but it doesn't look like the opponent's going to make us play it out, so we do need to be, you know, reasonably quick in case we get unlucky. But yeah, just use the space bar to save you having to mouse over to the bottom right and then back again. So we keep sacking the Putrid Goblin here. And then, yeah, basically we're just looking for Goblin Matron or Pashlik Mons. As soon as we hit one of them, we should just win the game. So we'll keep sacking it. Okay, there's a Prospector. Actually, to be honest, you know, I played the Prospector out. It's probably best not to, just in case we do time out and the opponent has a sweeper of some sort. It's probably best to have these cards available in the exile zone, but hopefully it won't come to that. You know, it doesn't take that long to go through. You just need to make sure you're not taking ages, because there is a hard 5-minute time limit on each turn, so just make sure you're not playing slowly, basically. Okay, perfect. There's the Matron, so now we just go for Matron, search the Pashlik Mons. Now we already have more than enough mana to play the Pashlik Mons. I'm going to sack the Horde Master now, just so we don't deck out when we're comboing. Okay, now opponent just keeps up. I guess they just wanted to see the win condition. Makes sense. So here against Control, this is definitely the matchup where we want the Battlecry Goblins instead of the Munitions Experts. So I think we're just going to cut all the Munitions Expert. I like keeping in Masked Vandal as a way to kill, as an out to graveyard hate. Now, it doesn't kill Rest in Peace, annoyingly, because you do need a card to exile from your graveyard. But if they're running Unlicensed Hearse or Soul Guide Lantern or Grafdigger's Cage is particularly good against us because it shuts off Collected Company as well. So yeah, Masked Vandal is almost always correct to keep in. If you think the opponent if you think there's a chance the opponent might keep in, if you think there's a chance the opponent might bring in Graveyard Hate against you, then you should always keep one Masked Vandal in the deck. Okay, so this hand's pretty good. You know, Battlecry Goblin is really nice at applying pressure, and we've got decent 3-mana options as well. So, okay, Collected Company's nice as well. So, going to run out the Prospector here, see what the opponent's got. Oh, yikes. Okay, Rest in Peace is pretty good against us because now we don't have an out to that either because, like I said, Masked Vandal, you need something in your graveyard to exile to be able to kill the opponent's enchantment. So, and it also shuts off the Horde Master and the Pashlik Mons death triggers, so it is pretty good against us. But like I said, the good thing about this deck, it obviously also shuts off the combo as well. But yeah, the great thing about this particular deck is that you can just beat down as well. You know, you do have all of your combo goblins work well in sort of a fair game plan as well. So we could play a 3-drop, or we could just pass and go for Collected Company. Now we would have to sack the Prospector in order to do that, but that would then clear the way for us to play stuff during our turn. Okay, opponent cycles Censor, which I'm pretty happy to see. Maybe this is greedy because we are losing a Prospector to do so, but I think the value of Prospector is definitely lower when the opponent has a Rest in Peace in play. Now, maybe it was better to sacrifice the Battlecry Goblin because, oh well, they don't have a counterspell. I was going to say, if they had another Censor, that would have been pretty rough, but I think the value of Battlecry Goblin is so much higher that it's worth going for. And now we're in a pretty good position because, I mean, missing the 4th land was a bit rough there. We would have loved to hit the 4th land drop, but now we're in a position where we can just start applying a ton of pressure with what we've got on board without even needing to commit anymore, because this is already a ton of pressure. You know, the tokens off the Battlecry Goblin enter with counters because of the Metallic Mimic. Okay, so they are Genji one of the Battlecry Goblins, but we're still getting in for a huge amount of damage here. Puts them down to 4. And we would have won if we'd hit our 4th land there. Okay, they did have the Supreme Verdict, which is a bit rough, but we've got a grip full of cards, and the opponent's tapped out, so we can play Crucias here, which is nice. But yeah, that's a bit rough because we would have won last turn if we'd hit our 4th land, but it is what it is. Pashlik Mons isn't great here since we can't combo off, and we don't get the death triggers off the Rest in Peace, so guarantee finding a Collected Company off Crucias is really nice here. Okay, opponent passes back. This is tough whether we attack here because them having Wandering Emperor or Shark Typhoon is kind of rough, but if they do have Shark Typhoon or Wandering Emperor, I guess we can company in response to try and find a Munitions Expert. I mean, that does play more into a sweeper, but I mean, it's almost always right to attack here, right? I think the opponent, because the opponent might just have nothing, or they might just have a piece of single target removal, and they're kind of just praying that we don't attack. So we kind of get blown out by March is fine, but we kind of get blown out by Wandering Emperor or Shark Typhoon there. But I think not putting them down to 1 would be a punt for sure. We have Collected Company here, so assuming we get a reasonable company hit, especially because we've got a Horde Master in play to boost whatever we hit, I think we should be in a pretty good position here. Okay, Search First counter is not really that scary considering they have Rest in Peace in play. Just got to hope that last card isn't a hard counter spell. Oh, wow, it is. Okay, that's kind of rough. But the opponent's completely out of gas here now. And I think I want to hold on to this Horde Master to apply pressure that they don't know about. So I think I'm just going to go Putrid Goblin into Matron here. And then we can tutor up another Horde Master to start applying a ton of pressure on board next turn. Although we could get Battlecry Goblin. It's between the two. I think I'll go for Horde Master here because it represents more damage, assuming our creatures live. Oh, well, they keep a card on top. Wow, another Supreme Verdict. Okay, that's kind of annoying. So I think I'm going to go for Putrid Goblin and Horde Master. Save this Horde Master to buff our board again next turn. Wow, they keep a card on top again. Do they draw another sweeper? Huh. So they keep a card and they pass. I mean, I'm going to play another Horde Master here. And then just attack and see what they've got here. Oh, yikes. It's Wandering Emperor. Okay, that's pretty annoying. So now they exile the Horde Master. They go up to 6. Putrid Goblin only deals 3 damage. I mean, I think we're just going to keep applying pressure on board here. We'll get Matron. And again, I think it's between Battlecry Goblin and Horde Master here. Since we have more mana available, I think I'm going to go for the Battlecry Goblin here, but it's close. You know, I think having haste off the Battlecry Goblin is good if they get another lucky top deck here. Okay, so it looks like they're in the tank about this one, which is a good sign, you know. The last 2 they just immediately topped. Okay, they've been a Kaleem. Just got to hope they don't draw that well here. Oh, come on. That's rough. Okay, so we lose everything to Farewell. I assume they minus. Yeah, okay. So, unfortunately, we can't win this turn. I think we just go Pashlik Mons, Battlecry Goblin and hope they don't draw another sweeper. Wow, they kept to the top again. Oh, come on. So I assume they minus on the Battlecry Goblin here. Oh, they minus on the Pashlik Mons. Maybe they forgot that the death trigger is negated by the Rest in Peace. Okay. I mean, Crucias isn't the worst draw. It's not the best because we don't have any cards in hand. And any Goblin there would have enabled us to win off the Battlecry Goblin, which is kind of rough, you know. Unfortunately, we don't have enough mana. If we could pump Battlecry Goblin up to 6 power and then attack and create a token and then buff again, that could work. But, you know, like I said, if we hit a Goblin off the top, we win this turn. Unfortunately, we didn't. So I think we just play Crucius and put Gigantha into hand here and hope the opponent doesn't draw that well this turn. But yeah, this is kind of rough. I think the opponent did draw quite well off the top. But yeah, we'll put Gigantha into hand and just pass here. If the opponent doesn't draw anything that great, I'm going to risk here. If we go lesser, just to try and hit another Goblin. Okay. That was kind of risky, to be honest. But I feel like the way we're winning here is with Battlecry Goblin. To be honest, yeah, maybe that was unnecessarily risky. Gigantha is a pretty hard threat for them to deal with. So maybe that was a mistake on my part. Maybe that was a little bit greedy. And to be honest, when you pick Expedient, chances of you hitting a land are pretty high because they make up, 24 cards out of your deck. So, wow, we hit another land. I mean, I think we just go for it here. We can pump the Battlecry Goblin to a 3/3. That means that we get the token when it attacks. So we just go face. Even if they animate the what's it called? The Hall of Storm Giants here, we still win. Okay, perfect. So it looks like we should win here. Unless the opponent has like a Fading Hope or something. I was worried about another Wandering Emperor, but yeah, okay. We just boost our... I mean, okay, opponent just messed up the blocks, but we still win there anyway, even if they do block correctly, because we can just pump the token. But yeah, sick. We got there. Nice. Okay, so we're going first here. And, okay, I think I faced this person earlier, actually. If I remember correctly, they're on mono-white Thopters. And they did actually manage to beat me. They're one of my only 2 losses so far with this build. So if that is what they're on, and I'm remembering correctly, then being on the play is going to be huge. And just trying to race to the combo, I think, is our main game plan. Because we don't have great ways to deal with 4/4s off the Foundry outside of the Masked Vandal, which we're only running as a 1-of. Yeah, okay, so it does look like they're on the same deck. And they have Foundry Thopter, so that's pretty rough. That's a very good start for the opponent, obviously. So we're going to run out the Horde Master here and just pass the turn. Thankfully, having 2 collected companies is pretty nice. I mean, I do remember that they were playing Mana Tithe as well in the main deck, which could be an issue if they counter the collected companies. But we'll see how it plays out here. Okay, Hope of Gurpa. Interesting. So they're loading up on the Thopters to try and maximize the Foundry starts. Don't think it's worth blocking with the Horde Master here. I'd rather block with the Pashlik Mons, I think, just to get more value. Okay, so we draw a Matron. I mean, I'm more happy to chump block with that. Now, they had Mana Tithe last time we were playing, but we can't afford to play around that all game. You know, we can't do nothing on turn 3. I'd rather them use Mana Tithe here if they have it rather than on company. Yeah, okay, they do have it. So almost 100% sure they're on the same list, but this is kind of rough now because they can sacrifice the Hope of Gurpa to make another 4/4, and then we're on a 2-turn clock. I think we have to chump block with the Horde Master and hope to get a good hit off the company. Hope they don't have another Mana Tithe here. So we'll see what they got. I mean, hopefully they don't have too much else. Hopefully they don't have a portable hole as well. That would be really rough. Hard Gingerbrute. I mean, they are running Machikos, and I think, if I remember correctly, they were running All That Glitters as well, which is obviously very good with Gingerbrute. But yeah, either way, we're definitely chump blocking here. We don't really have an option, and, you know, not sure there's anything that we would hit off the Horde Master that we would prioritise playing over company. Opponent does pass with the Mana Open, so... I mean, normally you'd want to Coco during your turn in case you hit Crucias. I mean, to be honest... Well, I'm going to do it during the opponent's upkeep anyway, but if they have Mana Tithe, we're losing the game, so maybe doing this during the upkeep isn't really worth it. Okay, they did have the Mana Tithe, but yeah, I think I should have done that during my turn, because the only reason we're doing it during the upkeep there is to play around Mana Tithe, and we're losing to Mana Tithe anyway, so in this matchup, we definitely want the Trash Masters, we definitely want the extra Masked Vandals, and I think we want Fatal Push as well because they could be boarding in Hushbringer against us. So go down to 1 Pashlik Mons. Think we can cut all the Munitions Experts. And then think since we're bringing a lot of stuff that company can't hit and we're bringing in Trash Master, I'm going to trim on the companies because we're bringing in 2 Trash Masters as 4 drops. We're bringing in 4 Fatal Push, which is another card we can't hit off the company. Now, typically against just regular Affinity, I'll definitely keep in all the companies. But I'm not bringing in the Fatal Pushes against Affinity because they don't bring in Hushbringer because they've got Thought Monitor. But against Thopters specifically, because they have Hushbringer in the sideboard, you need to bring in Fatal Push. And so to make room for that without cutting your key combo cards, I think we do need to trim on companies, but we can still hit them off the Crucias. You know, that's the nice thing. Not only can we hit company, but we can also hit Trash Master off the Crucias, which is, you know, the best card in this matchup. So yeah, like I said, in this particular matchup, this is probably the matchup where I sideboard the most because we want the Trash Masters, the Masked Vandals, and we need the Fatal Push for Hushbringer. You know, this deck can't beat a resolved Hush... Well, actually, no, that's a lie. You can. I have beaten Hushbringer just by attacking with a wide board. But if the opponent has pressure, you know, if they have a strong start alongside the Hushbringer, like, you know, Thopter, Foundry, or if you're against Auras is the other main deck that plays Hushbringer, if they have an Aura'd up creature, it's very difficult to beat with your fair game plan, so Fatal Push is really important there. But like I said, you know, I have beaten Hushbringer in the past if the opponent doesn't have a ton of stuff going on alongside it. I recently faced like a Mardu mid-range deck that was running Hushbringer and Crucias together, and I managed to beat that just with a big board, so it's not unbeatable, but you want to maximize your chances of you know, having an answer to it. So here we've got Mimic into Putrid Goblin, so we can, assuming the opponent doesn't have interaction, we can go Matron, get Prospector, then go Putrid Goblin, Prospector for infinite mana, and then off the infinite mana we can go Matron, finding Pashlik Mons to win, hopefully. So we've got the combo here. Just got to hope the opponent doesn't have Mana Tithe. Oh, they Fragment Reality. I mean, we get a Prospector, so that's, you know, one of the combo pieces we were going to search for we already have now. And now they're tapped out, we can go for Grumgully. And so, unless the opponent has another Fragment Reality, we should be good to win next turn, I think. Because we can play around Mana Tithe because we have 3 mana. So, just got to hope the opponent doesn't have Fragment Reality for Grumgully or Prospector. I have a feeling they would just use the Fragment Reality on the Prospector if they had it, though, because it doesn't give us a card. You know, there's always a chance if they take out the Grumgully that we could get, you know, a decent 2-drop. So if the opponent doesn't Fragment Reality this turn, then I don't think they're likely to have it overall. Maybe they do, but they want to get in for damage here. So they get in for 4 off the Ginger Brew. Obviously a much slower start from the opponent in this game, which is, you know, we're very happy to see. Okay, they just passed the turn, so we just win here then. We can just go Putrid Goblin, sack it 3 times to the Matron, and then search for a Pashlik Mons. And then we'll just drain the opponent out. And, you know, obviously got the Masked Vandal in hand as well, which is pretty nice. You know, we could take out the Machikos to stop a bunch of damage if we didn't have the combo. But yeah, just search for the Pashlik Mons. Now, you know, it is a little bit riskier going down to 1 Pashlik Mons when the opponent is running Fragment Reality, but you know, this isn't a very interactive matchup in general. Their main piece of interaction will be Portable Hole, which they can't kill the Pashlik Mons. So generally, you know, you definitely need to have 2 Pashlik Mons in the main in case the opponent deals with the first one. But in matchups where the opponent isn't really interacting with you, if you need to make cuts post sideboard, you can go down to 1 Pashlik Mons. But if the opponent is running like any decent amount of interaction against you, or if you think they're going to be bringing in extra interaction against you, then it's always worth keeping in 2. Just going to use the Pashlik Mons ability here just to put some goblins in play. It doesn't really speed up the process at all, but okay, opponent just scoops it up. So overall, I think I'm pretty happy with the sideboarding. I mean, I guess the other downside of bringing in Trashmaster is you do lose access to Gigantha, but this isn't a matchup where Gigantha is going to matter, and Trashmaster is so important in these sorts of matchups, specifically against Thopters and Affinity. You know, just because being able to kill any of their artifacts is huge. If they do have the fast starts with Thopter Foundry, it can kill the 4/4 and the Retrofitter Foundry, which is pretty huge. So yeah, Trashmaster is really big. Now, I did try builds with 3 Trashmaster in the sideboard. You know, I could see an argument for going for 1, 2, or 3 Trashmaster. 1, because, you know, if you're only running a single copy, you can shoot it up off the Matron. If you're running 3, you're maximising your chance of drawing it, but we're already running 4 company, and you don't want to overload your deck at the 4-drop slot, especially when we're only running 24 lands. So 2 has felt like the sweet spot for me. And we've also got the second Masked Vandal as extra hate that we can also hit off company. So this hand looks pretty good. You know, I think Fatal Push is particularly good against this, you know, the version of the deck the opponent's running, because they seem to be more all in on getting 1 big creature and suiting it up with like Machikos and all that glitters and stuff. So having 2 Fatal Pushes should be good. It's also very good against the Thopter Foundry starts because, you know, they go Retrofitter Foundry into Ornithopter, make a 4/4. If you kill the 4/4, that slows down their start a lot. Especially, you know, the opponent's obviously mulligan this game as well. So this is an interesting spot. Whether I want to go for Fatal Push now or not. They could have Mana Tithe as a way to kill it, but we don't really care about the 1/1. I would rather they use a Machikos or something here and we blow them out, rather than using the Fatal Push beforehand and then developing into another creature. Oh, perfect. That's even better. So they try and all that glitters. You know, unlike Machikos, they don't even get anything additional after that. So that was a real blowout. I'm very happy with that exchange. So we could potentially Whole Open Fatal Push here, but I think I just want to spend mana developing. The opponent doesn't really have anything threatening on board at all, so I'll just develop the Putrid Goblin here. Okay. Opponent puts Lurrus into the hand. Interesting. So we've got a few options here. I think, again, I just want to be mana efficient and develop to the board. And we can get Grumgully here and then threaten comboing in 2 turns if we don't draw a land. If we draw a land, we can potentially go Grumgully into Prospector and go off that way. You know, because we've got the Horde Master in hand as a way to win off infinite mana. Okay. So opponent plays Portable Hole, they get rid of the Putrid Goblin, which is a bit annoying. Now we can't combo off, but okay. And they've got Retrofitter Foundry. Okay, 2 Retrofit Foundries, sure. So I think I'm going to lead on the Grumgully here. Again, make efficient use of our mana. If the opponent, if we were worried about the opponent playing something that we'd have to kill immediately, then we would maybe consider going for the Horde Master and holding up the Fatal Push. But I'm not really concerned about them playing Lurrus because, there's nothing that they can really get back other than the Ginger Brute, which is not really a big concern. And next turn we can just go Prospector, sacrifice the Matron to get Revolt, and then use Fatal Push to kill the Lurrus. And we know the opponent doesn't have anything else because they're tapped out here, so... Okay, we draw Metallic Mimic. So I think, like I said, the play here is probably just going to be Prospector, sacrifice the Matron, kill the Lurrus. We don't want them to get back the All That Glitters. We want to kill Lurrus as quickly as possible here. So we just sack the Matron to get Revolt online, use the Fatal Push here to take out the Lurrus. And then we could either play Horde Master or the Mimic. I think I want to get Horde Master into play and just start pressuring the opponent here. I feel like we're probably, unless we rip a Putrid Goblin off the top, we're not likely to combo off. So, considering we have a pretty, we've got powerful board, we can just attack here. Oh, yikes. Okay, maybe we're getting punished a little bit for not holding up Fatal Push, but, this is the strength of our deck. I mean, obviously the opponent's going to get in for a lot of damage here, but even if we can't combo off, because all of the combo cards are just generically fine cards on their own, Grumgully, Metallic Mimic, Horde Master, all boost the power of our board, we can actually start racing pretty quickly here. So we can just play the Metallic Mimic. Unfortunately, we don't have double black, so we can't hold up Fatal Push twice, but we can just Fatal Push during the opponent's turn. I don't think there's anything they can do about it, because we have mana open for Mana Tithe. So I think we can just wait for them to target the Ginger Brute with the Machikos, just in case. I mean, there's nothing they can really do anyway. They could make a counter off the Retrofitter Foundry, but that wouldn't have haste, so we'll just fire off the Fatal Push now. I don't think there's anything they could have that can punish this, really. Okay, so we kill the Ginger Brute. See what else they do here. Okay, they have a Barbed Spike, so... I mean, we should just be good to win here, right? Because all they can do is make a 1/1 off the Retrofitter Foundry. Even if they double block... even if they block 2 creatures here, we still get in for lethal, right? They make a 1/1. We get in with the Prospector and the Horde Master, but we also have a Fatal Push. Okay, sick. We got there. Nice. Okay, so overall, I'm really happy with this deck in general. The really thing I like about this deck is you've got a really powerful combo that can just win the game on the spot. But all of the combo pieces also work as just generically good cards that enable a fair game plan to beat the opponent down. Then on top of that, you've also got Crucias and Collected Company, which work really, really well together to just smooth out your draws and just ensure that you never run out of gas, keep swarming the battlefield. So I'm really, really happy with the main deck overall. In terms of the sideboard, I'm also pretty happy with this. The only slight note is that I've barely faced any graveyard decks, but the thing is with this deck, since you are essentially a combo deck, you're never really going to be sideboarding that heavily. The matchup against Thopters is the only real matchup I can think of where you're boarding in a ton of cards. And so in those sorts of decks where you're not really sideboarding that much, you can generally go a bit more narrow with your sideboard options. And I feel like, Fatal Push covers the bases against the aggro decks. Battlecry Goblin covers the bases against the control and the slower combo decks like the Goblin Childbelcher deck. Trashmaster and Vandal are good against decks like Affinity or Thopters where you need particular types of interaction. And decks like Phoenix and Greasefang and Kethis combo, while they're not the most popular decks on the ladder, I feel like you really feel, when you do queue into those matchups, you really regret not having that extra graveyard hate there when you need it. And since the rest of the sideboard feels like it covers most of the bases, I'm pretty happy with the current setup. Now, having said that, if there was another card that you really felt like you wanted in the sideboard, then I could see trimming a Soul Guide Lantern. But as things stand, I'm really happy with the deck overall. In terms of tips for playing the deck, I think the most important thing is that you just plan out all the potential ways that you can set up the combo, because it's very easy, particularly when Putrid Goblin needs black, Grumgully needs green, Collected Company needs green, that you can cut yourself off certain colours if you tap your lands for mana before you sacrifice stuff with Prospector, so always plan out your combo turns. Additionally, always think about everything you could be hitting off the Collected Company, whether that's Crucias during your turn to get an immediate activation, or whether that's, oh, I could potentially hit Putrid Goblin and Metallic Mimic and I have the combo available. Also, if you're in a tough spot and you need to combo off, then it's often worth just sacking stuff if you have a Hoardmaster in play to potentially hit the last combo pieces you need. So this can be a pretty tricky deck to play in terms of missing your outs, if that makes sense. This deck can win even if you're really far behind. So the most important thing is trying to focus on ways that you could potentially string together the combo to win. But having said that, overall, I'm really, really happy with the deck. I'll be posting the sideboard guide within the next few days, so check back for that. If you've got any questions or comments about the deck, definitely let me know in the comments, and I'll see you on the next video. Big up.